Hello and welcome, a very warm welcome to the Green Bean. My name's Katie and this is Jack. In these videos I like to share my creative projects and processes, covering everything from drawing, knitting, spinning, sewing, all kinds of creative things, as well as walks out in the mountains here in the Bannau Brycheiniog National Park in South Wales. This is my first episode for a while. I took a bit of an unplanned break and I wanted to start by saying thank you to everyone who left kind and supportive comments on my last episode. I chatted quite a bit about burnout and then took a much needed break. So I'm feeling a little better, not completely better, but it's good to be back and I've got some lovely creative projects to share with you in this episode. Before we dive in, I just want to say a quick thank you to everyone who supports my videos over on Patreon. None of this would be possible without you, so if you're one of the lovely folks who supports us over there, thank you so much for your contribution. And if you're interested in becoming a supporter, there are lots of extra benefits on offer. You get extra videos from me and Jack. Recent episodes have included a Jack special, which I really enjoyed recording. And I'm also doing a little series where I pull out old projects from the past and ask whatever happened to them, whether they got finished or abandoned, or how they're working in my wardrobe. If that sounds like your thing, then head on over to patreon.com/KatieGreenBean and you can join our community over there. I have a slightly unusual drawing project I want to share with you in this episode. I haven't been doing much drawing for work as such lately. I've been taking a bit of a break and some time off, but I have been spending a lot of time and energy in preparation for a big hike that I'm doing next month. My friend Katrina and I are going to hike for the Bannau, or the Beacons Way, which is a 99-mile national trail that runs from east to west through the Bannau Brycheiniog National Park where I live. I'm very excited about this, but it's a big deal. It's involving a lot of preparation, gathering some equipment, making plans, making sure we know what we're doing. It's not it's a big undertaking. We need to be prepared and organised and have kind of safety things in place because it's proper mountains. But fingers crossed the weather will be kind to us and we will be able to complete our 99-mile walk. One of the things I've needed to get for the walk is a pair of trekking poles. That's these things. I've got 2 of them. And I made my purchase. I did a bit of research, looked at recommendations, but in the end I chose the pair that were the lightest weight because I want to minimise the amount of things that I'm carrying on this walk. But I didn't like how they looked. They had a big logo on them and they were white. I wasn't very happy with them. And I thought, what can I do to make them look like a pair of trekking poles that I would run over to in the shop and be like, oh, I want those ones because they're green. So I decided to spray paint them. I covered the tip, which is, as you can see, extendable, and the handle in masking tape, and then spray painted them green. I didn't film the actual process of spraying them because I was a little bit afraid that I might get some spray paint on my camera lens, which would be very frustrating. But I'm really pleased with how the spray turned out. I think I did 4 coats just to make sure I've got a really nice coverage, and I'm really happy with the colour. I was a bit worried when I saw the tin of paint. It's called chalky green, and I'd picked it according to a colour chart online which looked like this kind of murky green, but when I got the tin it looked a kind of sagey blue green, which is fine. I also like bluish greens, but I was really happy when I started spraying and it came out this perfect kind of murky boggy green, which is my preference. I could leave them like this, but I don't think I'm going to. I think I want to draw on them, and I'm going to use a Posca paint marker, which is the kind of marker you've seen me use before when I'm making corrections to scratchboard illustrations. It's a really nice permanent marker, and I'm just going to doodle on them and see what happens. I think it'll be fun. You know, it's low stakes. If it goes wrong and I don't like what I've done, there's plenty more spray paint in the tin, so I can make them plain green again if I want to. But hopefully my doodles will improve these poles no end and turn them into something that I'm very excited to have as part of my trekking kit. Do you remember seeing this project recently? In case you don't, this is my Escrick shawl from the Daughter of a Shepherd book Beginnings. It's a huge crochet shawl, although my version is not as huge as I would like it to be. My gauge is extremely wrong, and after sitting on it for what is probably now about 6 weeks, I've decided I'm going to rip it out. There's lots I could do. I could work the border bigger to make the shawl bigger, but actually the reason I'm making this project is because I'm so besotted with the sample. I've tried on the actual sample of this shawl and I want a version just the same for myself. When I measured my gauge, I am supposed to have 4 of these cluster stitches in 12 centimeters, and I've got at best 6 and at worst 8, which means that my gauge is so tight. I just haven't got the kind of fabric that I want. It's very dense. It's painful, I know. And it's especially painful because I'm such a stickler for swatching usually. If you've watched my videos before, you'll know how much I bang on about swatching. I actually really enjoy the process of knitting a swatch or crocheting a swatch and getting to know my yarn and my stitch pattern and being confident that my gauge is right before I embark on a big project. But when it comes to shawls, I am lazy because it normally doesn't matter what size a shawl is. So long as you're in the right ballpark for gauge, then it doesn't matter too much if your shawl isn't exactly the same size as the sample. But in this case, my gauge is so very wrong that, in fact, I'm going to take my stitch marker off right now and start unravelling this project because it's time. Now, what is making it possible for me to happily sit here and unravel months and months of work is, well, 2 things. One thing is that I've left it for a while. I've known that this moment is coming. I've dealt with those emotions about letting this project go, and I'm ready to do what needs to be done, although it's not unravelling as easily as I would like. It's a little frustrating. There we go. But I have already not only done a swatch, but actually started a new version. I will recycle this yarn because there's more than 200 grams of it here. I'm obviously going to need to wash it and use it in my project, but here's my swatch at the correct gauge. I ended up using a crochet hook I think twice the size of the one that I started with. I started with a 3.5mm, which is the recommended size in the pattern, and I'm now using one, I'm not sure if it's a 6 or a 6.5mm, so much bigger, and I'm getting a gauge that feels much more loose and drapey. I've measured it, it's still on the small side given what's stated in the pattern, but I think once it's blocked it's going to be fine. And here is my new project, and you can see the scale of it is really, I can't get the whole thing in the camera frame, the scale of it is really different from the original version that I had. So this, once it has become a triangle, is going to be the enormous draping shawl that I was aiming for, not my previous version. And there's something about when you need to frog a project, because sometimes it happens, you know, things go wrong, and sometimes you know they're going wrong and you keep going ahead anyway, but you can sometimes I can sense that a big frogging is coming, and one of the things that enables me to cope with it is making my new beginning before I frog the thing that's gone wrong. I find that's one way of helping me avoid being so annoyed with it that I just shove it in a corner and never want to think about it again. That obviously that does happen sometimes, but actually I've got into a nice flow with this new version. I'm starting to really enjoy it, so I don't feel too bad about unravelling the old one. and hopefully, much like the original version, because the main body of this shawl is a triangle and it's worked from the long edge down towards the point, it's going to feel like a downhill project, and it won't be too long before I'm back on track and, I don't know, hoping to have this shawl in action for this winter. Fingers crossed. After what I think must be a year of waiting, I finally have a sewing segment to share with you again, and I am so happy to have been able to find the time and space to do some sewing, particularly because I've been off my knitting lately. I am happy that I had some crochet progress to share with you, but that's really the only yarn related project I've touched in the last month or so. Sometimes it happens. I think it's something to do with summer, although here in the UK we haven't had much of very summery weather, particularly here in the Welsh mountains. We've seen a lot of rain, so I can't blame sunshine for not wanting to knit. I think it's something to do with the feelings of burnout I was discussing in the last episode, and I'm trying not to be fearful or read too much into it. I'm just letting it be, and I'm sure that my desire to knit will come back again in the autumn. In the meantime, I'm using that spare time and energy that I've found to channel into my sewing, and I'm sure you've already spotted the new garment that I'm wearing. I made this incredible Hobbit waistcoat. I am so proud of it. I was just so enjoying the process. I didn't record anything. Also, you know, my sewing space is still amid the piles of boxes and renovations going on in the house, but it was a delight to be able to find the time. The pattern is called the Pikes Vest. It's a menswear pattern from Wardrobe by Me, and I made it I made it exactly from the pattern without any alterations or fit adjustments. As a result, I have the best and most beloved garment that doesn't fit that I have ever made, which is why I've called it my second breakfast waistcoat. It looks lovely, it fits nicely around the shoulders, but I can't actually do the thing up, which is a shame, but it also kind of serves me right for not doing any fit adjustments or making a muslin. I just wanted to dive into the project and get on with the process, and actually I think that the finished thing is wearable anyway. I mean, I'm wearing it, so I'm not worrying too much about the fit. The fabric, you might even recognise. I used leftover fabrics. The outer corduroy fabric is from a pair of trousers I made, probably about 3 years ago. And there's this beautiful lining which was leftover fabric from a dress that I made before I even started podcasting. One of the first dresses that I ever made. I was able to forage enough for the lining from the scraps, and I love this pattern. There are so many construction details about it that I love. There are pockets. There's 1, 2, 3 outside pockets and this little pocket in the lining, which is just the right size for my phone, which is very handy. And I love how the lining is constructed with all of these facings on every edge. So there is not one single raw edge on show in this garment. You sew the entire thing and then bag it out through a gap in the lining, which you close by hand stitching, and you have a completely kind of, I won't say sealed probably isn't the right word, but it feels very professional and finished, and with all of the top stitching and details on the pockets, I think it's one of the nicest things I've ever sewn, and I'm really proud of it. It only took me, I think, 2 or 3 days, but I was very meticulous with the details and the cutting because I haven't sewn for a long time. I felt like I needed to pay attention. Also, when you're using corduroy, you have to pay attention to make sure that the nap of the fabric is going in the right direction. You don't want half of your waistcoat that you can stroke downwards and half going upwards. It all needs to be going in the same direction. So I'm pleased I managed to get all of that correct. I think there might have been one piece I got wrong. I'm feeling around all the facings. No, it all feels right. I think I got it all right. And then the final detail was these brass buttons. So I called it my second breakfast waistcoat, obviously because it doesn't fit, but also because my inspiration behind making it is my ever expanding quest to embrace my Hobbit self, and my partner and I have been listening to the Hobbit audiobook again recently, and I just felt really inspired to make a hobbitish waistcoat from my wardrobe, and it couldn't have anything other than brass buttons on it, and I think they finish it off perfectly. thank you so much for joining me and Jack for another episode of The Green Bean. I hope you've enjoyed hanging out, spending some time with us and hearing about my creative projects. I hope that whatever you're working on, it's progressing smoothly. And if you've got any tips about what you might do if you've lost interest in one of your crafts, specifically knitting, I'm thinking about my knitting and whether I should just wait for inspiration to come back, whether I should cast on something new, try and finish an old project. If you've experienced a lull or a loss of interest in your knitting and found your way back to it, I'd love to hear anything that helped you in that process. Hopefully I'll be back soon with some knitting or sewing or drawing or maybe all of the above. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye.